They like the question, they may not like the answer. First thing is, I would like you and everybody else to drop the word justice from their language, because there's no such thing as justice on the planet. What is justice for you will be injustice for somebody. Usually the word justice is used to enforce revenge on someone, whether it's legal revenge or illegal revenge. But whatever, if somebody does a killing, he thinks he's got what he deserved. Somebody thinks so, isn't it? That's why they do it. So let's not go by justice. Let us simplify the laws and enforce the law. Right now, nobody has any right to think about justice. We must become a law-abiding society first. After that, the luxury of justice will come. Sometimes when the law itself is cruel, we can break the law and deliver justice. Right now, the way we are in this country, there is no luxury like that. Here, law must be enforced first. Simply enforce the law. It may be unjust, but enforce it. Because without a semblance of order, there will be no luxury of justice in any society. Right now, we have no order. Where is the question of justice? Revenge will be labeled as justice. Now, how to bring this about in a society? As I said, one most important thing is to simplify the laws. And if you want to live in this country, everybody must understand the basic laws, what the laws are. Most of the people existing in this country do not know what the basic laws are. Every time you ask, they will throw their hands up. They think somebody should tell them. No, we must make it a law that if you want to live in this country, at least this many basic laws you must know. If you want to drive on the street, you must know what are the laws of the street, isn't it? Similarly, if you want to live in this country, you must know this, this and this. Not that you heard from your neighbor, not like that. Proper education, everybody knows that these are the laws. If you break it, this is the punishment. Everybody should know, isn't it? And then enforce it. It's not as simple, enforcing. Making the law itself is complex, enforcement is a super complex thing, because here comes justice in justice. So for a certain period of time, we must be willing to surrender justice and just stick to law. People who are enforcing law sometimes will enforce it in unjust ways. You must endure that. If you don't endure that, you will have a disorderly society, a lawless society. Then revenge will be the way, but we will call it justice. We will go about labeling it as justice, taking revenge on each other. Many things are happening. People are shooting each other and they think they're rendering justice because the law is not sensible. So, in making this happen, in creating an orderly society, not a just society, I want you to understand this because this is a serious sacrifice that we must be willing to make if we want to move ahead. This is a very serious sacrifice that I don't ask for justice. Enforce the law on me. Whatever the law, I'll go by it. It may not be just, but I'll go by the law right now. If the law is very unjust, we can look at restructuring the law, but beyond the law, no justice. Nobody has the discretion to deliver justice. This has to be established. This one thing we have not done yet. See, the problem with us is, if you travel 100 kilometers in India, people look different, they dress differently, they speak differently, different languages, our food is different, everything is different. But still, for over 10,000 years, the whole world has referred to us as one nation. Though we were over 200 political entities at some time, still, we've been doing trade with Syria, Jerusalem, Damascus, Jerusalem, Greece, all these places for over 8,000, 10,000 years. Even at those times, they referred to this country as Hindustan, though there were 200 entities. It was referred to as one nation, as Bharatvarsh or Hindustan or whatever the name. Because somewhere people saw this as one nation, though it was ruled by many kings. because there was one ethos, which is something that the politicians and administrators and the people have never paid attention to. The only thing which keeps us as one nation is a certain fundamental spiritual ethos which is not on the surface but which is always there. In the sense, people recognize this as one nation from outside because they all believed in something. This nation has never been a nation of believers. We have been a nation of seekers because spiritual process has been the main thing. Here people are not believing in God, they're seeking mukti or liberation or freedom. There is a difference between a seeker and a believer. A believer means he's made a conclusion. A seeker means he's wide open. He's realized that he does not know, that's why he's seeking. This one quality set us apart from the rest of the world, so outside world recognized as one nation, though there were so many political entities. We need to understand even today, it is only this spiritual thread which is keeping this as one nation. If you… right now it's being systematically hacked at. If you break this one thing, after 25, 30 years, you will wonder, why are we one nation? And we will break. If you do not strengthen the fundamental spiritual ethos of this nation, if you hack it down with beliefs and other kinds of identities, you will see, you will break up into various nations, you will not be one nation.
Sadhguru, I hear you clearly and I entirely agree with you that unless unity and order are kept even above liberty if necessary, if there is a clash, we are in danger. I totally concur with you as a true democrat and libertarian. But whether spiritualism could be the glue to keep the country united when there are so many meanings of spiritualism. In the name of spiritualism, if a certain religious persuasion or a certain philosophical tradition is propagated, in a very pluralist country like India, the dangers to disunity are even greater. I'm not even talking of morality issue. I'm not even talking of rights issue. The dangers to disunity are far greater, some people could argue, if you overemphasize a certain spiritual tradition, if the emphasis is on the humanist tradition that you've always been advocating, beyond a certain religion or beyond a certain philosophical tradition, then that will be perfectly all right. But unfortunately in this country, this mix of religion and politics has done us a great disservice. So how do you distinguish between religiosity in politics and spiritualism, which is true and all-encompassing?
Let us first of all make a distinction between what is a religion and what is spiritual process. A religion arises because they have a set of beliefs. A belief arises because somebody says, this is it. Whether it is 10 things written down or 25 things written down or 3 things written down, that's not the point. Something written down. Somebody says, this is it. Nobody listens. Then we say, God said it. Everybody sits up. And still some people don't listen, those in the backbenches don't listen. Then we tell, if you don't listen, God will come and burn you out. Then they also listen. So this has been the method of the religion. That is, essentially, you believe something. Let us understand the word belief. When you say, I believe something, what it means is, you don't know what it is, but you assume. That's what belief means. The English word belief literally means something that you do not know. You made a strong assumption about it, that becomes your belief. So essentially, it is ignorance institutionalized.
Sadhguru, pardon me for a brief intervention, I entirely agree with you. But if that ignorance is not universal in the sense that my ignorance is different from the other person's ignorance, my God is different from his, and therefore there's a clash.
I'll come to that. Now once you believe, once you believe, no two human beings will believe the same thing, okay? You believe one thing, I believe one thing. Now, today we are both friends. Tomorrow, if you… I think this is it because my God said it. If you negate it, initially I'll tell you, please don't do it. If you don't listen, tell me, whom should I protect, you or my God? I will naturally take the side of my God, and we wish to, put you in a different posting up in the heaven. Because you are having trouble because you have become far from my God. We want to put you in His lap so that you will be well. So the moment you believe something that you do not know, you have started a conflict. The conflict might not have erupted, but it'll erupt someday. So that is the reason why I'm saying one should understand the distinction between believing, knowing and seeking. Knowing obviously has not happened, so the only option that you have is to seek. So when you say, I am a religious person, you refer to yourself as a believer. That means you have assumed something and concretized the assumption, and you want to concretize that assumption in 10,000 people around you. When you say, I am on the path of spirituality, you will say, I am a seeker. When can you seek? Only when you have realized you do not know, you can seek. No seeking can be genuine. If you assume something and then seek, you do not know, that's why you seek. If you come here and you do not know, can you fight with somebody? You have no cause to fight with anybody. You have nothing to protect because you do not know. So, spiritual process will remove conflict entirely, not in the society. Essentially, it removes it within you. Because social conflict is just a manifestation of the conflict that's happening in individual human minds. If I am fired up that you are transgressing on my beliefs, I will gather 100 people and then start something on you, okay? But it is what started in my mind which manifests in the society, not otherwise. So essentially, the very root of conflict is taken away. Spiritual process also means this, that from the false identities that you have taken, coming to the reality of who you are. As we already went through this, if you're identified or if you realize you're just a piece of life, and this life cannot happen here without being connected with the whole existence, and if this becomes a living experience for you, only if it becomes a living experience for you, you must take the responsibility of other people's lives, not otherwise. So always in this country, in this culture, if somebody has to become a king, first thing is he must take a spiritual step because he needs inclusiveness. If he does not care, if he does not include these people as his, it doesn't matter what his intentions are, what he does will not be good to the people. So this inclusiveness, if it has to come, spiritual process not only has to touch the population, first it must touch the leadership. We were doing a program for a group of very prominent people about 8 years ago, and one person who's a very well-known and very important person in the administration stood up and asked, Sadhguru, that's fine, what about the country? I said, see, there are many things you can do, but the most important thing is, some transformation is needed within the leadership. Because a leader means, if you become a leader of the people, every thought that you generate, every emotion that you generate, every action that you perform is going to impact millions of people. It's a tremendous responsibility and a privilege. When you have such a privilege, the first thing that you should do is enhance this, fix this in the way it needs to be fixed. Now, you are going with the idea of you can fix it with morality. But I'm telling you, morals themselves, your moral and somebody else's moral will clash somewhere. As somebody's belief and somebody else's belief will clash, your ethics and somebody's ethics will clash somewhere. I'm saying this not to provoke you, but I would like you provoked. When you have a set of ethics and you think this is it, you are also a kind of religion. I'm the only irreligious person here. Because I have no values, I have no ethics, I have no beliefs, All I know is, if I look at people like this, I do not know which is me and which is not me. I see myself as everything, and that's all I know. This will not clash with anything. This is guaranteed, it will not conflict with anything.
Essentially, Sadhguru, what you're saying is there can only be an approach, not necessarily an answer, and there's no one definite answer. And
I said there's one classic answer which will handle everything. Because if one set of beliefs, when they took it, it actually worked for them, do you understand? But as it grew, as the numbers gathered, then conflict erupted. Similarly, one set of morals or ethics, when you take it, initially as an individual, it'll work wonderfully for you. As if you gather huge numbers behind you, people with these ethics will clash with people with some other kind of ethics or no ethics people.
So you cannot really have another set of commandments. You have to think of
Yes.
a uniform framework which everybody can understand and appreciate. Sadhguru, you have made a very passionate plea for spiritualism beyond religion. Something like a pantheistic approach to life rather than belief in a particular God and therefore the
The spiritual process has always been not a religious process. You need to understand this. This is the only godless country on the planet. This may be shocking for people who believe and every day go to the temple. You need to understand this, we have 33 million gods and goddesses because we understood the technology of God making. We understood God is our making. So if you want, you can make the tree in your garden a god. If you want, you can make a rock into your god. If you want, you can make your mother into your god. If you want, you can make your cow into your god. Anything you want, you can make it into your god. So we understood, all we need is, if we look at life closely enough, there is no piece of creation without the hand of the Creator in it. When I say this, suppose we take an atom. We know how proton, neutron, everything is doing, but we do not know what makes it happen like this. There is some force making all this happen. Now if you as much as eat a banana, this banana becomes a human being over a period of time within yourself. There is an intelligence which is making this happen. This intelligence, which we call as the source of creation, this source of creation is in every piece of creation. If you recognize it, well, an atom could be your god, an ant could be your god, an elephant could be your god, anything. Because we understood this, we went on creating. Now, people say India has too many gods. I feel they don't have enough gods. We had 33 million gods and goddesses when our population was so.
Now you can make it 1 billion.
Yes. Since then, because of external invasions and things, they made you feel ashamed of your gods, you stopped being creative. If you had 1.2 billion gods and goddesses, if every one of you had… Actually, you have this option. There is something called as Ishta Devata. If you don't like any of the gods that you have, you can create your own. I have my god, you have your god. Will we ever fight? No. Only if my god has a following of 100 people, now we are going to fight. My god is only my god, we are not going to fight. So this is a simple understanding we came to a long time ago. Because all you want is, you want an entity to relate with without any inhibitions. This is a human need, you can't take it away. People want an entity with which they can relate without any inhibition. Whoever may be around you, your family, your friends, still there are inhibitions. You can say something, you can't say something. You want somebody with whom you can be just yourself. This is a fantastic therapy for you and it works wonderfully well. There is no person on the planet whose life is as sweet as the life of a devotee, not a believer, I'm saying a devotee. Because in devotion he finds he's so sweet, his life is beautiful for himself and he will never do anything beyond that. His sweetness will anyway spread. So the important thing that we need to understand here is, we are always thinking the way we are creating things in our mind is more important than the Creator's creation, which is a completely wrong thing, because this intelligence itself comes from Creator's creation. Now, who is the Creator? You think like this only because you are a person. This is your personality. Because you're human, you think one big human being is sitting up there and doing things for you. That is a childish version. But if you created your own God, you know very well you created and still it works, wonderfully works for you. Now the important thing is to make a distinction, a clear distinction between belief systems, which are labeled as religions of the world, and seeking, wanting to know. Modern science has grown the way it's grown only because people were seekers, isn't it? If you turn outward and seek, you get labeled as a scientist. If you understand, if you want to know life, the best thing is to probe the life that you are, you will become a spiritual person. But both are seeking. So we call this spiritual sciences because you are seeking systematically. You are not assuming anything. This is needed. Because we fight because we've assumed, isn't it? It's our assumptions which are quarreling. The fight is never between good and bad, though people would like to project like that. The fight is always between one man's belief versus another man's belief, religious or otherwise.
Sadhguru, to go back to the practical realm of politics and governance, you have a real challenge in the country today. There's no point skirting over that. You go to any party leader, any legislator in the country, an MLA or MP, or any chief minister or opposition leader, privately they all have the same lament. They say, look, I want to do something good, but without spending crores of rupees to buy the vote, I'm not able to get elected. Without putting up crooks and criminals as candidates in many places, my party does not have a chance of getting those seats. But once I get those people in this manner, I am helpless because then I'm caught in a vicious cycle. I'm caught in a vicious cycle. I cannot get out of it. Now, what do? I know this is a self-created problem. After all, the political process that ought to be the solution has become the problem over a period of time. Partly because we centralized power, partly because we gave an illusion to people that a monarch is elected, a king is elected, not a representative to get things done through due process of law. Partly because we have not really ensured even simple delivery of services, a birth certificate, a ration card, without some bakshees or sifarish, nothing happens. So we have a complex mess.
You don't have money, you're not born, just understand.
You're not born, absolutely. One famous cricket star, when he was actually a test cricketer, he told me of a story in Bengaluru. There was a death in the family. He went to the municipal office for a death certificate. And he wanted immediately. They said, no, you can collect it tomorrow by paying 50 rupees. Then he asked the lady at the counter, look, I have to go on a West Indies tour tonight, the test team. He was a very famous test cricketer. I will give you 100 rupees now. Can you give the certificate now? She said, yes. So one thing nice about corruption is it's totally socialist. Cricket star or influential person or a poor person, it applies universally. There is a huge problem.
If you play 250 rupees, you can get it even if the person is not dead.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Add a few more zeros, you can actually kill the person. But Sadhguru, given this context, unless some big changes are initiated, one, trusting our people to take care of their lives and their communities locally, empowering the community so that leadership emerges and they understand responsibility and limits, but with a danda. Some things go wrong, you punish them very firmly, but people start taking responsibility.
Now, you must define the word community.
It could be a
challenge
village,
on that.
a village, a ward, whatever.
That is not community. My religion is my community. My caste is my community. My family, my mama and his sons are my community. My village is not my community. My ward, what ward are you talking about? I don't know. My community is my blood. So, the definition of community has to change, which is not easy work. Because we have not done that work, these things work best if it is done